Yeah, we're growing.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. It's going to be a good one.
Dang right.
Very excited about 2018 for sure. All right. It is 8:31, so we're continuing to grow here, but we're going to respect our guest speaker's time because I know he's just a little bit busy with his amazing things that he does with Beachbody and all his other amazing things he does. Obviously, it's Darin on the call tonight. He's taken time out of his life to share some great things with us. I took some questions down, and then after I sent them in, there was some more. So just depending on time, again, we're going to be respectful of his time. But obviously, he is the owner and founder of Super Life and the co-creator of Shakeology and awesome other things too. So I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to let him take the floor. And again, if there is time after he's finished, then we can kind of go over some of the questions that were sent after, if he has, if he's okay with that. So I don't see you. Where are you? I'm going to mute myself.
You see me? You hear me? Yeah, cool. I got some thumbs up. I got some waves. That's pretty good. Let's see if I have thumbs up after I get done talking. Okay, cool. So thank you for sending your questions. I see them here. We'll cruise through, and I'll do my best to give you some insight into this. So it's asking more. First question is more information on some of the superfoods, potentially what they do, why we want them, why ours are good, and why it's important to have them in a diet. Great question. This could be this first opening question could be a week's long dive into quality assurance, why certain superfoods are so special, and why are we even in a position where we even need to drink something like Shakeology. So let me just set it up in a way that kind of can give a context as to why we even set out to create this thing. It was really, I started formulating a bunch of things in the early 2000s. And so I was dedicated and traveling and finding these crazy superfoods for the mere reason that we are in this strange situation in this modern day kind of world where we have a bunch of food. So we have volumes and volumes of food, but it's nutrient deprived. So just look down the aisles at supermarkets with packaged goods and all of these kind of, as I like to call them, fatal conveniences. So we're in this situation where we've created a lot of success after the Industrial Revolution, where we're growing all this food, but that food, we've lost some of the primary principles to it, whereby this food may be looking the same, but it's nutrient-starved food. And this is something I'm not making up. This is something that's been recorded since the early 1900s by Congress, by the government, by the USDA, which set out to test the soils, test the food itself. And we knew in the early 1900s and then back in 1934, and then subsequent to that, later, we've tested these things and our food is deprived. Why is that important? Because food has the micronutrients that allow our bodies to optimize. When you're off micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, phytonutrients, all of that stuff, if you're not getting that cellular food, then largely you're leaving yourself open to chronic problems. And that's the simple and yet powerful reason as to why Isabel and I went into this kind of thing, because it's almost like a Star Trek episode where we have all of this food, but yet we need something that is delivering a nutrient density that we're not getting. So why all these exotic foods? Because a lot of these exotic foods have been used by traditional Chinese medicine for 10 to 20,000 years, been used by Ayurvedic medicine in India for 10 or 20,000 years. So the point is that culturally, indigenously, we have an epidemiological look at some of the greatest foods on the planet. And these things are botanicals. These things are leaves, nuts, seeds, fruits, but we've picked the best. That's so behind this beautiful bag in Shakeology that shows up to your door, behind all of that, and to answering more of this question is we've scoured the planet, figuring out ones that could fit in this stabilized form, in this powder form that could still then deliver on the compounds within those foods that we deem important. So here's where Beachbody takes a quantum leap in terms of the industry. A lot of these kind of ingredients are traded back and forth. There's brokers that trade these things and supply them to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hundreds of companies. These companies then say, I've got moringa, and then they make a beautiful bag, and I've got chaga, and I make a beautiful bag, and I sell it. But largely, these people do not know fully, truly where those things come from, nor do they understand or have relationships with the farmers, the growers, have been in the countries around the planet. Then here's the next level. So Beachbody spends millions of dollars, the unsexy side of what Beachbody does, spending millions of dollars on quality assurance. So our guys, Aaron Morton at Beachbody, leading the charge in quality assurance. Then we have research and development, Mike Wilson, Richard Andrew, these guys leading the charge on research and development, making sure that those compounds, what we deem as important in these botanicals, are there. And then the quality assurance is that making sure that our industrialized world is producing a lot of toxins, so therefore our ingredients don't have the toxins in it. And we send our own teams around the globe to make sure that those botanicals are processed in a safe way. And largely we fail more people than we actually accept. So that is what you cannot see when you just flip over a bag. What you cannot see by other companies trying to come after you, go, why is yours so expensive? Why all this stuff? Well, mine isn't that expensive. Well, this is starting to give you the tools to start counteracting and counterbalancing the argument that they don't know what they're talking about. But at least now, if you start to have fuel for what you can talk about in terms of spending the money, Beachbody spending the money, putting their money where their mouth is, on the quality assurance, on the research and development, on sending teams around the planet, making sure we know what's in that bag, and we've seen it, and we do the testing. Okay, so I just want to set that because it's super, super important that you guys understand that so that you can say that, because that is massively different than most of what the industry is doing. Most of what the industry is doing doesn't really have that intimacy of their ingredients. So that's why this beautiful chaga mushroom shows up, and we get to test it for its butylenic acids and it's for antioxidant capacity, and we get to find these things like Schizandra, which is in the remote areas of China, which is one of the greatest adaptogens on the planet. So we literally have some of the greatest botanicals that we know of in that bloody shake. I mean, that to me, it's cheap. If you really, I've been on mountaintops, I've been in jungles, I've been in villages where I'm the only person that looks like this. Like, for the journey of each ingredient to get in a safe way to that bag in the way that is required is extraordinary. So I just want to say that it's a big answer to a big question. But as you can see, it's very important to me. It's very important to Isabel, and Carl promised both her and I when we started back in 2006 that he would not skimp on quality, right? He did not pocket the millions of dollars he could have pocketed and put it back into the formula to continue to be able to add new ingredients as they come on the marketplace and as they're able to scale. Okay, let's cruise to the next question, or else I'll just continue down that rant. Is there anything that, if added to it, will take away from the nutritional value? Okay, so I'm assuming that anything added to the formula will take away the nutritional. Not really as an ingredient to take away. It's really the proper way of consuming Shakeology. Like, I'm a stickler. Like, it's not, we don't say we have a very strong shelf life and we do all the stability testing. But for me, as soon as I open that bag, Shakeology's in the fridge. Like, I just, these superfoods are my children. So I really, it's a very important thing. So all of my Shakeology is in the fridge. That's just me. And so when you're using Shakeology, so blend it and drink it. I get it if sometimes I'll blend it really cold if I'm going to be, like I went to one of my favorite things. I went to a Supercross event and I just made a super cold one. So it's cold and it's allowing the nutrients to not get warm and kind of bleed off. Those are the things that you want to just be aware of. So if you're blending your Shakeology, you kind of want to drink it fairly soon after you do that. As soon as water hits the botanicals, now you have a lot of enzymatic activity, right? So you want to consume that. And just don't slam Shakeology either. Take it slow, almost chew it. Like, just let it kind of macerate in your mouth, and it will really help the absorption as well. But the other side of it, if you're going to make things from it, which is always fun I'll even throw it on my oatmeal, as long as the oatmeal is not hot and it's kind of lukewarm, and I'll eat it right away. That's a guilty pleasure. As long as you're not cooking it, it's not going to harm you, but you're just kind of annihilating not all, but a lot of the micronutrients. So those are just things to keep in mind. Okay. How many can we drink in a day? Well, the official answer is we formulated it so you can have it once a day. But of course, there's times I've consumed it several times, multiple times, when I'm stuck. I would rather not eat something that is not great for me if I'm stuck somewhere. If I'm at a meeting, if I'm in another country, I'll definitely will double up on Shakeology just to counteract the life that happens sometimes. But you don't necessarily want to make it a habit of consuming 2 to 3 shakes a day and not eat food. This is health as you're getting is sleeping, drinking good water, exercising, having good relationships, eating great healthy food, and getting your bloody superfoods in. You know what I mean? That's kind of the deal. Okay. So then, I saw this question. This is kind of an intense question. The next question here is, how should a serving size / timing of Shakeology consumption be modified for a thyroid patient to avoid vitamins and minerals that binds to T3 and the flushing it through waste? Okay, so this is a very big question. There's many things that would go into that answer that I don't have. But let's just say that the thyroid gland is an essential gland for producing thyroid hormones and essentially keeping your body's metabolism in check, right? And oftentimes when your body is off, it could be overproducing the hormones or underproducing, which is Hashimoto's and things like that. So the thing, if you have a thyroid sensitivity, largely you can do a lot by looking at all of what you're eating and being very mindful. If you have a low functioning thyroid, typically that's an iodine thing. So you need to monitor that, get it tested, and then probably support it through that. So back to Shakeology, again, hyper or hypothyroidism, it's different. So what I would do is make sure you're talking to a functional medicine doctor, get your own test to make sure you know exactly what your thyroid's doing and the support it needs. And in severe cases, you may need medication, but I would do everything else first to making sure that you're eating correctly, sleeping well, things like that. So my recommendation, if you have thyroid sensitivities, to go to the vegan versions so you're not getting any of the added vitamins and minerals from the original. Because we have the added vitamins and minerals, and because I don't know this individual's the situation, I couldn't say one way or another. So you can avoid that. And then the vegan versions don't add any of the standardized vitamins and minerals. It has it naturally within the botanicals. So then you won't run the risk of creating some issues for your thyroid if you are already compromised on your thyroid. So I hope that makes sense. But it's a big, because selenium, iodine can throw the thyroid around if your thyroid's not doing well. Okay. So, okay. Number 5, other tips like not adding dairy that can avoid interactions with the thyroid thing again. Dairy is a very inflammatory thing, and your body reacts to it hormonally. So I definitely would avoid dairy, and adding that to it, an extra, especially with the thyroid sensitivity, you definitely don't want to do that. Again, if you're on thyroid hormone meds, you really need to talk to a functional medical doctor who understands nutrition, because medication will always, always, always have side effects, always. Now, if you definitely need it, you want to make sure that you're getting all the nutritional support that you need, and that can regulate the thyroid. And if in severe cases you need medication, then make sure you have all of the other protocols and systems nutritionally in place. Okay, so let's go to 6 then. Can you drink Shakeology hot? I definitely wouldn't recommend it because, again, heat and oxygen and water with botanicals is going to make botanicals vulnerable. So when we dehydrate all of these these botanicals that are now in a powdered form, well, they're tested, right? So we're tested so they don't have things in them that we don't want, but they're also tested for the active compounds that we want active in there. So as soon as you add heat, oxygen, and water, now all bets are off the moment you allow that to kind of sit out. Heat will annihilate things really quick. So don't heat Shakeology up. Okay, next question. Glycemic index load on new formulations with the matcha green tea. So we are very proud of glycemic index. So we have done a lot of work around this. I don't remember every formula, but we're at about 25 to 30, I believe, for most of all of the formulas. We're kind of in that pocket, maybe even 33, but it's on a scale of 0 to 100. So in that category, this would be considered a low glycemic index. And basically what that is it's glycemic index is measuring on a general basis how fast carbohydrates and different foods enter your system, how fast they convert and go into your bloodstream. So the higher the number, the higher the insulin spike and the stress of that. So the low number, so this is considered low glycemic load. And this is for a variety of reasons. The accumulation of natural sugars in there is very low compared to the natural fruit sugars we have, and also the fibers, the insoluble and soluble fibers help to slow down and mitigate. So everything is the sum. The sum is greater than the individual parts. So it's not just a sugar thing. We have a very low sugar overall in the formula, but this is where it really shows up. When you see that the glycemic index is showing that it's low, therefore the interaction of the entire formula as it relates to you and your body is then proving that that is a low glycemic load. So it really then is a moot point if some crazy people think that that has a lot of sugar. Well, if you turn over any box, if you're eating anything in a can or a whatever, you're getting infinitely more sugar than that. It's kind of funny to me that people get worried about that when in fact we have very, very low added sugar of organic cane, which is coming with a whole bunch of vitamins and minerals. And then we have this stevia and low-hangao and all of these other things. So I'm super proud of our sweetening system. It's one of the most advanced in this kind of formulaic way without using artificial, crazy, experimental artificial sweeteners. It's just a crazy thing that people would use that stuff. So I think that's the 7. So if you have more questions, I'm game. So pick out a couple and I'll.
Okay, there's actually more were listed, and it was later, so I didn't want to submit it.
Okay.
But, what brings you the greatest personal satisfaction in the ongoing quest to keep developing and refining Shakeology?
A great question. Here's the thing. I mean, my why of why I do this is so embedded in who I am that it goes way beyond Shakeology, but Shakeology fits within my desire. Sorry about that. It fits into my reason why I do this. And let me tell you why I do this. I suffered as a kid, and I realized that by moving my body, eating really well, changed my life, changed it. So as that kid grew up and learned and got educated, I realized that I need to make available some of the greatest botanicals in the world so that people don't suffer, so that people can live a life that is not dragged down by the limits of their body. Because we all know if we get sick or we're tired or we're not feeling well, it's hard to live your dream and have the energy of being with your kids and kind of going after your dreams. It's hard to do that when you're not functioning on a high level. So for me, the continue evolution of finding new botanicals, making sure that we're putting the best in, the moringas, the schizandras, the ashwagandhas, the chagas, all of these things are like the greats of the botanical world. And this is why I do it, so that I can pass that on, so that people can consume that and let your body start to function at a higher level, so you can kick ass in your life and live the life that you want. You can go after your 2018 intentions and goals, because if you're not doing well, it's really hard to do that. So that's why I do it. I've dedicated my life to this stuff, and I'm blown away and always a student, because when you realize that every week new research comes out about your favorite botanicals that blows you away, it's a huge pleasure and honor to be in this position, to be able to continue to drive this thing. And I'm just really thankful that Carl has took this project on. We had no idea that this high level product would even sell. And for millions of people to get exposed to this thing is just, it's a gift that keeps on giving, for sure.
Can you see the chat at all? There's a couple questions.
Yeah. Can we put the packets in the fridge? Absolutely. As we see greater industrialization, pollution, deforestation impact on more remote locations around the globe, do you think it would be more difficult to source the ingredients, and how do you think we will adapt? Awesome question. This is something that's been on our table in my forefront from day one. I think day one, I shared it with Carl, and he was like, well, let's just see if we can sell this first. But it is a very real thing, that there's been situations where we've grown out of ingredients, and we couldn't find a supplier that would able to adapt in the way that we needed it. It is a very, very challenging situation by our operations teams. And the cool thing for me about it is it drives us deeper into the relationships and deeper into vertical integration, right? So we can't afford to not get involved, which is the reason why I travel, the reason why I look into the eyes of the farmers. I like to be involved. And so it is a lot of work to make sure that, from a health perspective, there's a few botanicals that we can never use, and the industry doesn't know about it, that we discovered in remote areas of the world, that we're getting pollutants from illegal mining. And by us testing those things, we realized that in the middle of nowhere, that what we're doing on the planet is affecting botanicals that should be in a pristine place, but their water table is affected, and the atmosphere around them is affected. And I'm not going to say what the botanical is, because it would create a big problem in the industry, because the industry doesn't know about it yet. So it's things like that where you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but we have a huge dedication to making sure that our products are clean and they're scalable. We've had the last 5 or 6 years meeting specifically on scalability. And every time we introduce a new ingredient, it has to be able to scale by 5 times. We have to at least see that it's possible. So it's a big thing. So what you're consuming is connected to not only families around the world that's supporting indigenous growers, but it's also supporting remote areas that get to provide this to Shakeology, so that these families don't have to, because deforestation, what people don't realize about deforestation is that a huge part of it is an individual who has a family in the jungle, and some guy comes along and say, for $5, can I cut these trees down? He'd be like, yeah, because I don't have any other money. So if we provide them with income for indigenous botanicals around them, then they don't need to cut down trees in order to provide food for their own family. That's real. There's stuff like that. I have hundreds of stories like that. So this is a big part of a bigger discussion, and I hope that we can share it, and I can share it more with Beachbody as the years go by. Okay. How about further clinical testing to get the medical? Yeah, so we have an incredible scientific advisory board with some of the most badass guys in the industry. Dr. Michael Ballack is one of the greatest ethnobotanists in the world, and is single-handedly saving cultures. He's on our advisory board. And he's like a mentor to me. The point is that, yes, we are doing clinical work on Shakeology. It's a very tricky thing to do clinical work on something that has, 40 plus superfoods. And there's so much. It's not like we're doing a clinical trial on curcumin of turmeric, of one compound. It's a very tricky thing to create a test of getting efficient data on something that's so complex, because everyone who consumes it, your body is going to utilize it differently than the person next to you, because your body has different needs. The adaptogens are helping your body deal with stress. Well, some person may be stressed on one level and the body's stressed on a biological level over here. So the point is that it's not so cut and dry, but we are doing our best and spending some money in that category, but to be continued, no doubt. Okay. Is that it? Yeah, I think so. Okay. We good? My 10-year-old, one more. My 10-year-old is drinking a half of a serving Shakeology. Can she have a full serving? I mean, I would say, yeah. I mean, if they're doing great with a half a serving of Shakeology, then introduce full serving. There should be no problem, right? So, yeah, there you go.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, it's tradition we get a team picture, and obviously having you on, we want to have a picture with you.
For sure.
If your face is not on and you want it to be on, put it on, you guys, and we will let him go for the rest of, well, I guess he's on Pacific time, right? So, all right, on 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much. We appreciate your passion and everything that you do for us. It's incredible. So we really appreciate you taking time out tonight, and keep doing what you're doing. And
thank you.
That's it. You guys.
I appreciate it. Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Cheers.
See ya.